Hey everyone, welcome to this week's episode of the Cross-Chain Insider, a weekly roundup of all news traveling across chains, brought to you by LI.FI. I'm Mark, member of the research and BD team here at LI.FI, and a big believer in the metaverse, however ironic that might be. My GigaBrain co-host and master of all trades here at LI.FI is Arjun. What is up, Arjun?
Hey Mark, a lot to go through this week, so let's get started.
Yeah, you did not hold back on the bullet points this week. So as usual, as you can see on the screen, Arjun writes this beautiful newsletter every week. If you subscribe to our Substack, you can get it in your email. However, we also spend 30 minutes together every week and record it as a podcast, and that's what you're listening to now. As usual, Arjun starts with the bridging updates from the week, so I'll let him take it away.
Yeah, let's start with some good news. So Ronin Bridge reopened on June 28th, last week basically, and they relaunched with like improved security after the 625 million exploit. So they now have more validators. They passed external and internal audits. They have insurance cover. They have circuit breakers. So they have a lot of new security features. But surprisingly or unsurprisingly, no new bridge design. So it's still a validator-based bridge design. Let's move on to Stargate. So Stargate,
we're just gonna move on from that. We're just gonna say there's still external validator sets, and that's cool.
So it's not new news, right? It's like they announced their plans last month, and apparently no one really had any problems with it. So they just added more validators, security in terms of audits, and I think that's, if they're good with it, we're happy. It's fine.
I'm good with it.
Yeah. So let's move on to Stargate. So Stargate has added ETH pools on Ethereum and L2s. So users can now transfer LP, stake, and farm ETH on Stargate on Ethereum, Optimism, and Arbitrum. Next, we have Superfluid, who partnered with LI.Fi as its bridging solution. So their users can now use their super token primitive from 17 chains across all the bridges that are supported by LI.Fi. Do you have anything to add about Superfluid?
Dude, this is actually pretty cool. Mm-hmm. So a super token, by the way, on Superfluid's like design is, say you're a company, you can deposit a token and kind of wrap it into what Superfluid calls a super token, and then that super token can be streamed by the second to employees. It's really cool. So like if you deposited $100,000 worth of USDC on Superfluid, that becomes a super token, and then it can be streamed to employees. I'm super excited to see how cross-chain streaming is going to work at some point. We're not ready for that yet. Right now, we're just allowing people to deposit into super tokens from different chains. But cross-chain streaming is going to be really cool because we're going to have like constant movements across bridges, and that's going to be tough. But that's like, we need that.
At least we have a first step towards it. So that's good to see. And it's good to see that they've chosen LI.FI to be part of this primitive. Totally. Moving on to Hop. So last week was Arbitrum's Odyssey's Bridge Week, and Hop came out on top throughout the week. They processed over 60,000 ETH by 483,000 accounts. So that's a lot of bridge volume. That's a lot of new users bridging to Arbitrum through Hop. And maybe that's why they had to stop the event. More about that during the Twitter thread section.
Can you say hop on top a couple times fast? My favorite.
No, it's okay. Let's move on to Multichain. So Multichain released V6 of anyCall. So anyCall is their cross-chain message passing protocol. And in V6, they added new features like permissionless deployment, fee payments, and just a lot of new features. So it's like cross-chain generalized message passing bridges are like the new thing in town. So it's good to see development from one of the older bridges in the ecosystem, and it's nice to see them shipping more updates. And I think you would like their design as well, or like something on Twitter that they posted.
Oh yeah, it's just what was it? Oh, I guess I didn't Oh yeah, here we go. It's just like a great graphic right here. Like I would buy that NFT right there. I don't know why. I would though.
Why would you buy that NFT?
I don't know. It looks rare.
Okay. Uh, let's move on to the next news item. So Rave.names, a Web3 username system on Fantom, they've integrated LI.FI's widget. So what this enables them is to basically onboard users quickly onto Fantom and then just buy a domain name on Rave.names. So yeah, just easier and better user onboarding experience all around, and it's great to see someone integrating LI.FI's widget. Next, we have cBridge. So cBridge hit a new milestone last week. They've hit $9 billion in transaction volume. $9 billion in totally bridged transaction volume. That's a great milestone, and we congratulate cBridge. They're one of our partners at LI.F. Yeah, so up next we have Arbitrum. So Arbitrum pools, sorry, Hyphen. So Hyphen launched Arbitrum pools. And users can earn APY on Hyphen by adding USDC and ETH liquidity to Arbitrum pools. So if anyone's a liquidity provider here, they can go check out Hyphen, which is Biconomy's liquidity layer, and they can add liquidity to the Arbitrum pools.
Isn't this such a cool tweet? It doesn't exist anymore.
They
rugged us. We got rugged.
Yeah, it's like, it was there yesterday.
Sure.
Yeah, so more news on Hyphen. So Perpetual Protocol has integrated Hyphen into their bridge UI. So Hyphen is now the second bridging solution on Perpetual Protocol's interface, right next to Transfer2.xyz, which is powered by LI.F.
LI.F.
Yeah, and so up next we have Terra 2.0, which is now live on Wormhole. So Terra becomes the 12th chain connected to the Wormhole network. Wormhole is just out there connecting everything to everything. That's good to see. So they have good connectivity. Next, we have an update on Horizon Bridge exploit. So the team raised the bounty from $1 million to $10 million, but that wasn't enough for the hackers. So the hacker has started moving funds through Tornado Cash, and the Harmony team has begun a global manhunt for the criminals who stole 100 million from the Horizon Bridge. So they've partnered up with like national level security organizations, I think, and they're probably, so at this point, I think it's like a national level security concern as well, because it's like one nation state attacking bridges to fund their operations in a way. And if it goes down to North Korea again, US should be worried.
All I'm saying is that if Chainalysis is on the hunt, like I would be worried. Chainalysis is good. Yeah. So that's, 10 mil for a white hack bounty.
I mean, that's still,
they consider it.
That's still only 10% of the entire amount.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, up next we have Rubic. So Rubic plans to integrate LI.F. So Rubic is kind of a competitor because they're also a cross-chain swap aggregator. But so they plan to add LI.F to their stack because they want access to our supported bridges and networks. And I think that's a strategic move, to say the least, because we've added so many bridges and networks, and they can, just by integrating us, they can basically integrate all the bridges and get access to all the networks. So that's a good move, I think, but we'll see.
Yeah. And I don't really see anyone as like a competitor in this space, right? Just like, I don't think Uniswap sees other DEXs as competitors. I think we're all building something unique and fun, and we got to give people different options. So
yeah, always good to see like there's no competition in general, but like as a product, it makes sense for them to add something like LI.F.
Totally. Okay, so that is the bridging updates section. Arjun really went hard this week. He went to, look at that. That was 12 updates. That was a lot of updates. I feel so much smarter now. Okay, now we got to get moving because that was a long section today. So I'll start us off here. We have marginFi alpha going live on Solana. This is they're trying to be a single interface to trade across DeFi. That is their dream. You can check that out here. I really like their vibe because it's typed in all lowercase letters. I'm a big lowercase letters fan. But so right now they're launching on Solana, and they have plans to go cross-chain at a later date. Next, we have Risk Harbor Vaults launching on 4 chains. We have Vaults will support a bunch of different dApps. So Aave, Compound, MakerDAO, Yearn Finance, Frax, and they will be live across Fantom, as you see here, Near or Aurora, actually, Avalanche, and Ethereum, of course, Ethereum. So that's big. Next, we have Sandbox going live on Polygon. You can now bridge to Polygon using Polygon's native bridge. The Sandbox, if you're listening to this, LI.FI would love to talk so we can give you more routes to move tokens over. What do you think about that idea, Arjun?
I love that idea.
Yeah. But here we go. Let's see. But look, they're using the Polygon bridge, which we love the Polygon bridge. We have them integrated into our aggregation protocol. So we could, do some fun things with the Sandbox, I think. Anyways, moving on. Okay, this is probably my favorite bit of news from the week. It's really nerdy. So you have to really be in the know to see this one, but Compound released a code repository for the Compound community that will enable a next generation borrowing protocol that can, most importantly, scale across blockchains. Here is the kind of announcement here. This is part of their multi-chain strategy. Compound's actually been doing a lot in this space. There might be a blog post coming out on this from us in the next week or so, maybe 2 weeks, depending on how excited I get. Next, we have the Arbitrum Odyssey. I think Arjun might have briefly mentioned this earlier, but the Arbitrum Odyssey has been paused. They are waiting for their Nitro upgrade to reopen the Odyssey. The Odyssey is an 8-week program where they're incentivizing users to bridge over via like NFT giveaway campaigns. The first week was like a bridging week where bridges like LI.FI were used for people to go from mainnet to Arbitrum. Of course, because there was so much traffic, this is good news for Arbitrum, right? There was a lot of traffic, gas spiked, and they decided to wait until their Nitro upgrade so the users could use the chain without high gas prices.
I feel like
Arjun, you look like you want to add something.
Kind of covered the what's popping is there. So maybe we can just wrap it up here right now.
Oh, no. We got to wait. I love saying what's popping later. Okay. Next, we have Chainlink going live on Fantom. I didn't realize Chainlink wasn't on Fantom. This was news to me. Like, it wasn't news that they were on Fantom. I was like, oh, yeah, they weren't already on Fantom?
Now we've probably taken it for granted that, okay, Chainlink has to be everywhere.
Yeah, I actually read an interesting article this week. It might be one of the recommended reads. I can't remember. Everything blurs together. That was talking about Chainlink's cross-chain plans and how they're going to use data oracles to move funds across chains.
I think they have a whole new protocol for their cross-chain plans.
Yeah, so we might need to cover that later.
But their whole community is like very actively putting that out everywhere. But like right now, I don't think it's in production or it's not live yet. So
it's not live yet. None of the details are public, but there's a few scraps that you can kind of get into.
Details out there.
Yeah, but I mean, I've been thinking about this ever since I wrote the deep dive on Across, which uses the optimistic oracle to move chains. I'm like, I mean, why isn't Chainlink doing this? It's just so obvious now. So there we go. There's your alpha for the week, I guess. Next, Polygon launched Avail, a modular blockchain built to scale other blockchains. It's EVM compatible. Here's another graphic that looks rare. I would definitely buy that as an NFT.
Why are you buying graphics?
I don't know, dude. Why am I buying silly JPEGs?
At least they look
Maybe
good.
Graphics are the next big thing. Okay, so this is pretty much, I think I might mess this explanation up, but this helps with making settlement more gas efficient. I believe Avail, that's their big deal. So love to see it. Polygon, dude, Polygon just ships. They just keep shipping.
I think by this point they have like too many products to keep up with. So I just hope whatever products they're building, they have the right market to address. Like people are using them.
I just love that Polygon, which is a blockchain, is launching another blockchain. Like,
yeah, they have like
come on,
3 or 4 different architectures.
I know. Like they're taking multi-chain to the next level.
They're taking multi-chain in-house.
Exactly. Okay. Last bit of ecosystem news is that cross-chain smart contract on Quicksilver, which is an interchain liquid staking protocol on Cosmos, launched cross-chain smart contracts. And I think we're going to be seeing way, way more info on cross-chain smart contracts in the coming months, just with the IBC interchain accounts getting closer and closer to getting into production.
Like in the last week itself, I've seen so much news around IBC Cosmos that like I don't know if to take that as a signal or just Twitter noise.
Yeah, it could be a little Twitter noise, but people are looking for the next big idea.
I've seen like news, like development news around Cosmos and IBC.
Dude, cross-chain smart contract calls. That's the good stuff. Like if we're talking about what's going to move the space forward, I think that could be a really bullish.
And I think like the Ethereum ecosystem in general is kind of sleeping on interchain security. So it's like so just like how Ethereum security is basically across the layers of Ethereum. So it'll be like Atom security will be across all the Cosmos ecosystem chains. But I don't know, like I haven't seen much content around it or like much noise around it in general. So I think it's kind of being slept on.
I saw a funny meme this week that was like the year is 2052. The entire world of finance runs on Cosmos. Atom is still 138th largest cryptocurrency.
Yeah, probably.
Anyways, tokenomics, they matter sometimes. Okay, so we already kind of talked about the what's poppin' this week because we mentioned the Arbitrum Odyssey a few times. But Arjun, do you have anything left to add here?
Yeah, so it was basically like too soon for the Arbitrum blockchain. So they had to pause the Odyssey event until the launch of Nitro. So when Nitro is shipped, Odyssey, so Arbitrum will be basically equal to 7 Ethereums. Right now it's like three Ethereums. But yeah, so
wait. What do you mean? What do you mean 7 or 3 Ethereums?
So it's like 7 times Ethereum scale.
Oh, so like throughput. You're talking throughput.
Like scale transactions. Throughput.
Okay, so if you're talking like Ethereum does 15 transactions per second now, right?
Now you have to do 15 into 7 very quickly.
Well, I can do 15 to 3. It was at 45 transactions per second, right?
Yeah.
And then so what would be 105? So that's times 7.
Are you sure about that?
Okay, I'm checking my math.
It is.
It is?
Yeah. But yeah, so it'll be equal to 7 times Ethereum's capacity, which will be much better suited to handle such high loads on the network. But I found like really interesting like stats around Bridge Week. So I was on Arbitrum Scan and I saw like, so they have like 2 graphs. One is for number of transactions, then the other is for number of addresses. So if you see Arbitrum Scan, you'll see like the transactions going up, addresses going up. And June 27th was like the most productive day in general. So Arbitrum saw the highest number of transactions on June 27th. They had like 280K transactions on Monday, which is June 27th. And their number of transactions basically increased by almost 3x at peak, like during Bridge Week. So a lot of users bridging to Arbitrum, and this like effect of Bridge Week kind of went on in week 2, where they had like the DApp week where GMX and Yield protocol were like highlighted and people had to use them. So Arbitrum could basically support like normal transactions, but when you use GMX in your yield protocol, you have to do like heavy computational stuff. So when you do that the network could not support, and whenever the network, like Arbitrum network, hits capacity, the gas price increases. Like that's the mechanism that they have, and because of this, it increased to like $1.5, and the team was just like, it's probably just too much, too soon for the blockchain to handle. So they've decided to now delay it until they ship Nitro, which I don't think there is a date on that yet.
I do not think there is either. The biggest thing I took away from this chart is that I need to go practice using Boba Network. And I also need to list a few of my worthless JPEGs on mainnet that I've been wanting to list for a while, but didn't have the gas to do it because it's pretty cheap right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anyways.
So when you see Arbitrum's gas fees compared to like other L2s in that graphic, you can see why they decided to probably stop it.
Just editor's note here. Did everyone see Arjun just like took my comment about my worthless NFTs, threw in the trash, and then went back into like the actual important things, like the gas fees on Arbitrum?
So often now that I'm like, okay, fine.
Okay. Moving on to the next sections, we have interesting reads. For some reason, I thought this section was called recommended reads. Has it always been interesting reads?
Yeah, it is interesting reads.
I've been calling it recommended reads for like
it's the same
long time.
Like, we find them interesting, so it's a recommended read section.
For sure. What do we have on the recommended reads portion this week, Archie?
Talking about like staying on topic with IBC and Cosmos. So the Cosmos team has basically decided to educate everyone about what IBC is and why it's like the holy grail of interop in the ecosystem. So they've talked about how IBC works, the problems it solves, and it's like a really good blog post for anyone who wants to learn more about IBC from like a beginner point of view. So I found it very interesting. The next one I have was an update on Aave v3 after the Harmony Horizon like bridge exploit. So this one is interesting because like it gives you a perspective of an application during a bridge hack or like an exploit on the entire blockchain. So what basically happened is like during the exploit, the supply on Harmony and Ethereum, like the dynamics changed, right? Because the assets were no longer backed by assets on Ethereum. So some accounts on Aave v3 like took advantage of this opportunity because they thought like the assets have to be restored, right, on mainnet. So this gave them like an arbitrage opportunity to like basically temporarily benefit from the price divergence. And
dude, look at that. 2.8K views is a lot for a governance forum.
Yeah, so I think it's the fact that a protocol has come out during an exploit and basically given us a point of view of how it affects an application, like any bridge hack. And this is like the contagion risk that we're talking about, because assets are no longer backed by anything, so prices move accordingly. And I think something similar also happened during the Wormhole hack as well. But yeah, so very interesting in my opinion. Next, we have like a podcast by the Delphi digital team. So it's the podcast is titled "Is the Future of Blockchain Interoperability Optimistic?" So we have Arjun Bhuptani from Connext and Anna Carroll from Nomad. So they discuss the blockchain interop trilemma, bridge architectures, Nomad's optimistic design, and like they really go into like details. So if you have time to listen to it properly, if you have like 1.5 hours to listen to all the details about optimistic designs, bridges, do give this a listen.
Yeah, and I have to say, like, if you're in the bridging space, Arjun Bhuptani is like, obviously, you're like, you follow him on Twitter and you're like, wow, this guy knows everything about it. Dude, Anna could hang with Arjun. Like this was a fantastic combo. Not many people can hang with Arjun. Like I've heard him on a lot of podcasts. This was good.
Yeah, I mean, I would expect that from a protocol lead at Nomad, to be honest.
Totally. Totally. But like I've heard Arjun, go on like other podcasts and he just like runs circles around everyone, right? But like I mean, obviously Noban is like another OG in the space, right? So like Anna was just fantastic. This was the first podcast I've heard her on. She did a delightful job with Arjun. Next we have Messari. They wrote a nice deep dive into router protocol. You should definitely give it a look. Router is focused on EVM, cross-chain bridging solutions. Big fan. They did a great job. Messari also did another deep dive this week that I'm just about to finish reading.
I didn't put that in the interesting read section because that's like you have to be a paid member to do that.
Yeah, you have to be a paid member, but I like that Messari's diving into the cross-chain space. That's the most interesting part of this interesting read, is that they're going deep into the cross-chain space. And then last, we have just a little thread here on app chains and their implications for bridges and cross-chain messaging networks, like Synapse. So great thread. Big fan. As always, you can go check these out at the bottom of the Substack. Arjun writes, he links to them all. It's very beautiful. And I think that is all we have on the newsletter front. Arjun, we're on to our last section, which you never put into the newsletter. So sad. But it's pretty much just like, Arjun, what's on your mind? So Arjun, what's on your mind?
So it was the Ronin bridge that was like relaunched, and Philip, the founder of LI.FI, he put that into a tweet as well. So it's like even 625 million hacked does not make us think about bridge designs completely. Like the solution was to add more validators into the mix, which like works if you have like 100 validators, but they increased from like 9 to 11. They plan to add 3 more. They'll have 21 by the end of like 3 months. And at some point in the long term, they'll have 100. But it's like the attack vectors, they still remain the same. So it's just the same attack can basically happen again on Ronin, but it'll just be harder because there are more validators and like a few more security measures that they've taken. But I think like at some point we need to start thinking about changing the bridge design if something doesn't work rather than beefing it up.
I have very little to add to that. I'm with you. I do think we need to take like a first principles look at bridge design. And I'm super excited that Ronin is increasing the number of validators on their network. Like that's obviously a fantastic step. But just from like a first principle is like, what are we doing here in the first place? So we're trying to build systems with as few single points of failure as possible. And external validators, it's just hard to decentralize.
There's nothing wrong with having there's nothing wrong with having validators. So when I first read this news that they've planned to add more validators, I was like, okay, that makes sense. But when I thought about it more, it was like the attack vectors are still the same. So it's like same thing can happen again, but it'll just be harder. So we don't know if the hackers could have basically taken like 6 keys or 8 keys, but they had 4, so they were just like, okay, fine, we're fine with 4. So we don't know if they have like access to more keys or they can just dig deeper and get those.
And then usually I go again this week, like at the end, like I talk about what's on my mind, but like I was really thinking about Arbitrum this week and the Nitro upgrade. We already kind of talked about it. So I don't think I need to add anything to the conversation. Isn't that crazy? I'm deciding to not speak right now, Arjun. That's huge.
It's a new experience for me.
Do you have anything else to add?
No, not really.
Nothing else. Okay. Well, that is the latest episode of the Cross-Chain Insider. For more info, be sure to subscribe to the Cross-Chain Insider on Substack. That is LI.FI.substack.com. You should also check out LI.FI, Li.FI. We are building the ultimate cross-chain money Lego that helps power cross-chain infrastructure for dApps. It's delightful. Our website is literally li.fi. go check us out. It's awesome. And if you have any other questions, you can reach out on Twitter. We're very active on Twitter. So that is at LI.FI protocol, LI.FI protocol. And well, thank you for listening.